Today's writing mission is a really intriguing and possibly difficult one, and it was suggested, and I'm going to say thank you to, a young lady called Eve Payton, who asked me a question. She asked me about how characters grow up and how they change. And I thought that's so interesting to think about, because lots of the characters that we love in children's books don't grow up. Famously, Peter Pan doesn't grow up. But as a kid, I loved the stories about Just William. And Just William was 10 years old from about 1930 to about 1960. For 30 years he was 10 years old. He had lots of birthday parties in that time, but he never aged a single day. And there are other characters who don't change. Like, think about Paddington. Paddington is a little bear, and it's a really good job that he doesn't grow up, because then the Brown household would have a massive grizzly bear who would be, instead of helping them out of problems by using his brain and his politeness, would probably just give them a bear hug, and people would be dead left and there'd be blood all over the house, and Mr. Brown would be splattered, and just, I'm going crazy here, let's not think about Paddington growing up, although that might be an idea for a story. Paddington grows up. But then I thought about the other children's books that I do love where the character does grow up. So Anne of Green Gables starts when she's a little girl, and the Anne of Green Gables books follow her right the way through to adulthood, and the same with Little Women. And the same with Harry Potter. When you first meet Harry Potter, he's a little boy who can fit in a cupboard under the stairs. Then he goes to school and he loves Bertie Bott's every flavoured beans, and he makes new friends. But by the time we get, and if anything goes wrong, it's fine, because he's in school and there are teachers who can help him out. Dumbledore can help him out. There are friends and there are adults to look after him. But by the beginning of book 7, spoiler alert, he's on his own. And by the end of the series, he's a married man. But you're watching him cope with things on his own. And maybe that's one of the things about growing up, that you make decisions and you start to deal with your things on your own. Think about The Lion King. In The Lion King, Simba's father is killed, and he goes off and he plays around with Pumbaa and has a great time, and everything's Hakuna Matata. But there comes a day when he has to make a decision to step up to the plate, take on responsibility, and go back to his own country and assume his role. So growing up is about making decisions. So this week's writing mission is to, well, I'm going to give you a choice of two things, because it's about growing up. Maybe write a little thing about you growing up. Imagine yourself as a grown up, and what you think, what will the world be like when you're grown up? What will you've done when you're grown up? What will your life be like when you're grown up? Or write a piece about making a decision. And to help you do that, I'm going to read a piece from this book, Cosmic, which is a very, very silly example of this. And Cosmic is sort of about being a grown-up. It's about a boy called Liam who's had a huge growing spurt, so he looks like a grown-up. And I'm going to read you his first day at big school, when he has a decision to make, whether to tell the truth about himself or whether to step into a world of confusion and enjoy himself. So this is Liam's decision. This is his first day at school. His first day at big school. He's very big for his age. The uniform doesn't fit him, so he's wearing his own clothes. It's a new school. And when I got to school, Mrs. Sass, the head, saw me in reception and said, "Oh, Tom?" And I said, "No, Liam." And she said, "Yes, of course, I'm Lorraine, come with me." And I do remember thinking, fancy her telling me her first name. How friendly is that? Mrs. Kendall never told us her first name all the time we were at Joan of Arc Primary. Lorraine took me to the staff room and started to tell me the first names of all the teachers. They all shook hands at me and said that they were pleased to meet me, and I was thinking, well, what a polite school. Do they do this to every new kid? It must take ages. Then Lorraine said, "Everybody, this is Liam Middleton, our new head of media studies." And she pointed at me. And I know I should have put her right there and then, but someone gave me a mug of coffee and a custard cream and sat me down in a nice big chair, and I thought, I'll tell them after the biscuit. So that is how I ended up on stage at assembly in front of the whole school. Now you need to know one more thing about Liam here. Liam lives near here, where we are now, in a place called Waterloo, but his parents don't like to travel, and Liam is restless to see the whole world. So he's become obsessed with all the other places in the world that are called Waterloo, and there's hundreds of them because of what happened at the Battle of Waterloo. So there are places called Waterloo in Africa and Siberia, and anyway, so you need to know that. So, So that's how I ended up on stage, standing with Lorraine while she talked to the whole school at assembly. There were about 8 people in the front row who knew me from Joan of Arc Primary, including Florida Kirby, who kept waving and making faces. Lorraine said everybody was welcome. She hoped that everyone had had a good summer. She said something about the new registration procedure, and then she said, "And now please meet our new member of staff. He will be teaching media studies. He will be the form tutor for Class 9 Mandela. Please welcome Mr. Middleton." And she pointed at me, and I stepped up to the microphone and I went, "Thanks, Lorraine." And everyone was going, "Lorraine, Lorraine, her name's Lorraine." And I'll do this. Let's get up here. This could be dangerous. So he's up on the stage, and I'm looking down, and all these faces were looking up at me, and part of me was thinking, I really need to think more about the consequences of my actions, and then stuff like this wouldn't happen to me. But another part of me was thinking, this is good. So this is Liam's decision moment. Thinking, this is good. I said, "Good morning, everybody." And everyone said, "Good morning,